So we reached out to the MIT Media Lab, and we actually have them here. Let me see if I can pop over real quick.
Okay.
There they are.
We're live.
Hold on one second. Don't say anything yet. All right. So we're doing a Google Hangout with the MIT Media Lab and also with the Brooklyn Law School. And I'm going to explain how this all comes together. Has everyone heard of a hackathon? Who knows what a hackathon is? So we decided to put a little bit of a twist on a hackathon. We got together with the MIT Media Lab, which is kind of cool and unusual, right? Why would the MIT Media Lab be interested in doing anything with the ABA Tech Show? They're going to explain that at the end. We're going to also have an opportunity to talk to the law school in Brooklyn and talk about what they've done. So what happened is we said, let's do this ABAthon, this hackathon. And everybody said, well, the word hackathon kind of has a negative connotation. Somebody on the ABA Tech Show board, I don't know who, had the great idea of calling it an ABAthon. So what a hackathon is, in case you haven't heard, it's generally a speed coding event. And in our case, in a legal hackathon, where you get some lawyers together, some coders together, you take an idea that somebody has for something that hasn't been developed yet, or a problem that a lawyer has, or a community has, or people have, users, citizens. We say, okay, how do we solve this problem? So that's generally what a hackathon is. I'm not going to super go crazy explaining it to you because I think hopefully you figured it out. Not to mention that Thomson Reuters, our sponsors for this event tonight, has done a great job with their cards and information about what is a hackathon. So what's happened over the past few weeks is we got together with MIT and with Brooklyn Law School, specifically a gentleman named, oh, let me put this in full mode, sorry. A gentleman named Daza Greenwood, who's a lecturer and a legal scientist at the MIT Media Lab. He's a lawyer. And I went up to the MIT Media Lab to meet him and to get this thing all worked out, and I said, why are you a lawyer? He's a scientist at MIT, and he said, I just needed to understand how the law works. And he has all these ideas and these projects, and he does a lot of stuff in civics, and he kept asking people about the law, the projects he wanted to get done, kept getting inhibited by the law, so he goes to law school and starts working on his project. So we'll learn a little bit more about Daza at the end here. And they work very tightly, the MIT Media Lab and Daza, with the Brooklyn Law Incubator and Policy Clinic, and at the end of this, I'm going to ask Jonathan Askin, the founder and the professor of that law clinic, to explain what they're doing there. The long story short of why we're all here tonight is because a bunch of students, and also, they also partner with UMKC, and we have Michael Roback here, he's a professor there. One of his students submitted a project as well. So what we're going to do here together is we're going to look at their projects. Some of them are actually living, breathing projects. Some of them are ideas about ways to hack the law, ways to look at the law differently and creatively and solve problems. And our goal tonight is to look at these projects and give them feedback about their ideas. One of the things that I have not liked when I look at traditional hackathons is that they just happen really fast and then they're kind of over. That nobody goes back and says, here's what you could have done better. Did you think about this? What about that? So that's why we have you, first of all, but we also have 5 distinguished panelists, and I'm going to ask all of them to just introduce themselves really quickly. I'm going to start with Dennis.
I'm Dennis Kennedy, and I get involved in this because of my role in the Legal Technology Resource Center. I'm a in-house counsel at MasterCard, and one of the groups I actually support is doing a Masters of Code hackathon around the world, so people can take advantage of MasterCard APIs to build payment functionality into their applications. So hold
on. Nobody understands what you just said. Can you explain that in plain English, what that means? When companies want to be able to run MasterCards, is this it?
No, what it means is that people can add MasterCard functionality of a variety of types into the applications they're wanting to build in an easy and simple way that they can do in a short time as a hackathon.
Is that better? No, they still don't understand. No, you have stopped Dennis Kennedy.
I'm trying to figure out what you're looking for from it. But,
all right, we'll move on. Dennis, MasterCard, they do hackathons with APIs and MasterCard stuff. Maybe we can get him to explain it better. George.
I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, it's going to get shorter and shorter.
I'm really glad I didn't go first. Good job, guys. So my name is George Jenner, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development and Partnerships at Clio, which is an economy-based practice management product built specifically for law firms. And of course, one of the things we do, much like Dennis just mentioned, is we have an API. What an API is, it's something that's developed as sort of an input place for data. So like if you want to link one application to another, for instance, say you want to link your Clio account to your NetDocuments account, you can create integrations using pre-built code called an API. You can also create custom apps. You can connect one product to another if you're using software, or if you're a developer, you can create like a custom, never before seen one-off application build just for something like Clio or just for something like MasterCard through the API that they make available to developers. You have to be a developer to do it, but you can get creative and basically solve customer problems, especially if it's something that's really, really specific. So if, let's say, one law firm wanted to do something that was very specific to their workflow on the Clio platform, they could do that, and they could pay a developer perhaps, or even if they had the in-house development skill, could do that. Whereas it might not be in our interest as a business to build this one piece of functionality that only one of thousands of customers needs. And that's kind of like one of the ways in which APIs works, and what they tend to lend themselves very well to are, of course, hackathons or hackathons like the ones that we have tonight, where teams can get creative, can solve very specific pain points and problems in using already pre-built products, but kind of applying their ingenuity to make them useful in new and different ways to customers. And so I guess we're hoping to take a look at tonight, and hopefully we'll have some informed and insightful feedback, but we'll see how it goes.
Excellent. I think that helped. George, bring it home. Go ahead, Craig. Introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Craig Larson. I'm a Vice President of Product Management with Thomson Reuters. So, yeah, we're very happy to sponsor the event, and really interested in taking a look at all the innovative ideas that have been presented, and definitely interested in just seeing what kind of creative solutions are dreamt up and are identified and potentially needed in the market.
I'm Sam Glover from Lawyerist.com. We are an online. We are an online magazine for lawyers about law practice, technology, marketing, ethics, etc. We don't have an API, and now I'm feeling inadequate about that.
Maybe we can hack you one.
My name is Casey Blair. Sam would call me a thought leader. You need to understand when Sam uses that word as an insult. I'm former in-house counsel at Kia Motors. I write a monthly legal technology column for the ACC docket and a legal operations column for Inside Counsel. I created something called the Legal Technology Audit, which, if you really care about it, you'll hear about way too much about it on Saturday morning. But I'm here mainly because I was promised free drinks.
Which reminds me, if any of our panelists need a drink, since you can't go down and get yourself one, just let us know, and a drink will come to you, or someone will come and take your order. So please, we want to have some fun here. Who needs a drink now? All right, just, there we go. Drink order. All right. Greg's glass is empty. Craig needs a red wine. Okay, I'm going to take a quick second to introduce, we're going to watch the video that went out from MIT to their community of students and hackers, sort of introducing the idea of the hackathon and asking teams to come together and bring projects to life. So this is going to be a gentleman named Alex, but he goes by Stanley Petland. He helped create and direct MIT's Media Lab, which, by the way, if you have not been to the Media Lab, the next time you are in Boston, find somebody who knows somebody there. It's not hard to get in there and get a tour. You just have to know. It is so cool. One of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do. Anyway, so Professor Petland formed it, or helped found it. He has helped create and direct MIT's Media Lab, the Media Lab Asia, and the Center for Future Health. He is a member of the advisory boards for Google, Nissan, Telefonica, the United Nations Secretary General Monument Capital, and in 2012, Forbes named him one of the 7 most powerful data scientists in the world, along with the Google founders and the CTO of the U.S. So this guy's pretty impressive, and it was awesome that MIT agreed. They were excited to do this with us. So this is a video that they put out inviting projects.
Hi, I'm Alex Kessler, professor here at MIT. I create and direct the Media Lab, and I'm reaching out to you for the ABA-MIT Appathon.
Hi, I'm Daza Greenwood, a scientist here at the MIT Media Lab focused on law, computational law. Recently, I asked Professor Pentland, what is an online legal appathon? And what are the hackathons that this appathon was built upon?
Well, this was going to be an online event where lawyers and technology guys think about inventing the future.
The way that we're modeling this appathon, focused on app building, is teams will come together and they will decide to work on a project. Quite a few new ideas and improvements can be generated in a very short time. And the energy of the teams and the individuals, the ideas that are flowing, feeds on itself, creating something vastly more than the sum of its parts, creating a kind of innovation fountain.
When you put different sorts of people together thinking about real-world problems, you get really interesting solutions. For instance, with Code for America, we put together solutions for transportation in cities. By bringing together medical people and technology people, we were able to get really interesting solutions for health and health care. And now by bringing together law expertise and technology, hopefully you get some really interesting new ideas and solutions for legal problems. How do you get involved? Go to law.mit.edu and you can see what's happening and get involved. Who knows where it'll end up? Maybe we'll end up changing the world.
Awesome. Okay, that was awesome. We love that guy. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the first idea that came out from the students at the Brooklyn Law School. This is a tool called Free Legal. It's a web-based platform that provides users an easy and streamlined way to find and engage free legal services in their area. So what happened here is all the students had to make and submit their own videos, and this is the first one. After we watch this, we're going to ask our panelists who need to pay attention now for their feedback and ideas. And if any of you, if this is a subject that is of particular interest to you or you have ideas, we need them. And these students, well, we want them. These students need them. There's a microphone up here, so if you have suggestions and ideas, please stand up and let us know. Here goes the first one.
This platform, currently called Free Legal, provides users an easy, streamlined, and overall more effective way to find free legal resources. The site offers a one-stop shop for users to find pro bono services, government and nonprofit legal aid services, law school clinics, and other free and low-cost resources in their geographic area and addressing the area of law that the user needs. Upon arriving to the site, users enter the geographic location and select the area of law in which they need help. Then, they are taken to a page listing all the relevant legal clinics and pro bono services in their area. Users are also presented with the option of exploring DIY guides and solutions to common legal issues. After selecting a specific service, users are taken to that organization's page where they can see a basic summary of the services provided, press reports about the organization, reviews from prior clients, and contact information. As the site develops, more information will be given. Finally, users can click on Apply to visit the organization's own site and application page, where they can apply to become a client and receive the services they need. This platform will hopefully make it easier for those in need to find the many free and low-cost legal services available, and will create an easier way for those who need justice to access it.
Okay, and sorry, I forgot to cut off the end of the Google Hangout for that. The next video on YouTube, please. So I'm going to ask our panelists for a couple of suggestions, ideas, or first initial thoughts. But anyone who's out there on Twitter, or if you want to watch that video again later and learn more about that project, if you look on the bottom of the screen, I put a bit.ly link. You can go and watch that video again anytime. And the hashtag for this one is hashtag ABA-MIT. That's what they're all going to start with. Free Legal, because remember that was the name of this project. So do we have any suggestions or initial thoughts that came off of that from our panelists?
My first question is, how does the person who needs it find it?
Okay.
And when that person does a Google search, which is probably what they're going to do, sorry Microsoft, you're in the room, how are they going to find the free legal site first, or are they going to find the actual site they're looking for?
Okay, so we have to make sure that the student thinks about SEO and marketing and branding and how they're going to make sure that when someone goes to search for free legal services that this is the app that comes up?
Well, but the person's probably going to put in free legal services business startup New York.
Okay.
Something, if they're going to put in a basic search term like that, and I have no idea, Google is going to bring up the site that free legal would send them to, then it's one extra step.
Okay.
And so the first question is it better than Google? Not in the macro sense, but in the specific sense of getting people to the resources that they want to go to. And then the second is, okay, it might be better, but how are people going to find it in the first instance?
Okay, excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think
This is Dennis.
I think that the access to justice piece of the mobile apps is really a significant area, and so yeah, I think it's right. And so I think the target is good here, but I think as Casey said, there's an issue about distribution, or findability or distribution, and then also in a lot of these ideas, there's this notion that somebody who needs legal services will know which category of law and what service they want at the beginning. Typically, they're going to have a problem. You know, they have a problem with the spouse or whatever, and so the focus that I think is interesting is say, what can you do to help somebody with a problem, and then point them to a solution. And then I think in the access to justice, nobody knows what's going to be pro bono or what's going to qualify for legal aid. So if you've had some sort of functionality in there that help people know whether they qualify for any of these services, then this app starts to become really interesting. Now it's sort of kind of an overarching directory. As Casey says, I don't know what it accomplishes is all that different than Google.
And it's also really critical for it to be up to date and comprehensive, right? So
Okay.
I think that's a problem that needs to be solved.
Need to keep it up to date, comprehensive, help guide people through the process of figuring out what type of lawyer they need, what type of help they need, and if they qualify for what might be considered free.
Right.
Okay. Does anyone in the audience, again, especially if there's anyone out there who works in the access to justice field, or you have ideas about programs or applications that already do this, one of the big things that I see some of the hackathons, the results of a hackathon sometime are products that already exist, solutions that have already been solved. And I think a lot of time gets wasted because we aren't doing enough research to figure out ahead of time what those issues are. So then they spend all this time, these brilliant people, hacking situations and trying to find solutions for stuff that's already been done. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. The next one, now this is a code of conduct. It's a concept, and it's a website idea where standards and laws from different countries, starting with the US and the EU, can easily be accessed by anyone around the world who's starting to use the 3D printing process. Right, so nobody has yet thought about how to handle what's going to happen with all the 3D printing projects that are out there. So that's what this gentleman decided to start with.
Hello, my name is Amir Ahmad. I'm a 3L student and member of the Blitz Clinic in Brooklyn Law School. We're currently working to put together a global code of conduct for the 3D printing community on behalf of 3D Hubs and along with students at the University of Amsterdam. We would like to set up a so-called good actor standards in the form of a code of conduct in order to prevent the misuse of technology across the world. With the rise in popularity of 3D printers, benefits they offer are endless. However, when put into the wrong hands, there are many potential dangerous and illegal uses, ranging from criminal liability with the printing of 3D guns to violations of intellectual property rights. We are putting together regulations that all 3D print users and companies can agree to abide by in order to enjoy creative yet safe uses of 3D printing. Along with the code of conduct, we would like to create a wiki page containing the different laws around the world as they apply to the uses of 3D printers. We will cover issues in intellectual property, criminal law, tort law, privacy law, health law, and more. We hope that 3D print users and 3D Hubs users across the world will be able to populate this page and provide the most up-to-date rules and regulations as they apply in different countries. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone on the panel first? And remember, if any of you have ideas and suggestions, please come right up to the microphone and don't be shy. This is the point here. We're helping.
Now I feel like I'm just mean.
Don't be mean. You have to be like Toastmasters. Did you ever go to Toastmasters? I went to Toastmasters for years, and the thing that was always cool about Toastmasters is they would say, this is what you've done really well. Here's how you can improve without being mean.
Well, I'm just not. It's not clear to me how it's an app.
Well,
If there's a wiki page of all the relevant statutes and regulations, I think that's fantastic.
Okay.
It is. I don't understand how it's an app.
I totally understand how that could be an app. Go ahead, Joe. I mean, we've got apps that have federal, codes of conduct. We've got apps that help you already with laws and books. And why couldn't this be an app that just lays out an official code of conduct that a group has come together and established, and it's just an easy thing to look up. If I had a 3D printer, I'd want this app.
Right. Called the wiki page.
But we could be an app. So that's our first suggestion.
Yeah, that's a matter of distribution channel, right? So you have a database with this information either gets distributed over a web page or it could be over an app, but you're right, it could be an app. We should choose to make it an app, which is a whole load of additional work, which I think we're talking about. It's easy to put together a wiki page. It's very challenging to maintain like a very user-friendly app on different platforms and constantly updated and so on. For me, I think the biggest burden, and in keeping with the Toastmasters that you made, Brianna, it's a great idea, and certainly a very distinct pain point that people who use the 3D printing services that they referenced feel and have is going to be quality assurance. We've all been to those wiki pages where we're just tearing our hair out thinking, who's the moron that wrote this and decided to publish this to the world? And what a wiki page creates is, I think, a very substantial quality assurance burden that can tend to be fairly manual. So as a part of making this app successful, I think we would need to think about productizing some portion of that quality assurance. Because if you do it all manually, it's going to be very challenging. It's going to be a very substantial time burden and very difficult to pull off from a sort of pro bono or nonprofit setup.
So maybe he should start with creating a community and a group, like the standards for the internet, and that group becomes the official group that makes rules and regulations and suggestions for 3D printing.
That could work, but it would be a different take versus a total user-generated content wiki. Yeah,
okay.
But that could work for sure.
Anyone else?
So it seems to me that the app, whether or not there's an app, is a secondary to the central purpose, which is establishing sort of the model rules of professional conduct for 3D printing. And there, I think the problem is not any sort of ingenuity. It's the authority of the group that is creating the rules or organizing the rules. And
sorry, we're just getting some feedback from MIT. Sorry.
And so I think the issue is who are these kids, or sorry, who are these people, and why should anybody listen to them when it comes to their code of conduct? And so it seems to me that the approach that you suggested, where there's sort of some sort of standards or something like that, is a good approach to organizing this sort of project, because you need some authority behind it if you expect people to follow it.
Well, you would definitely need the lawyers that would help with understanding what types of laws, like again, like he mentioned, making a 3D gun. Are you an expert in this area? All right, tell us your thought. And introduce yourself.
I'm Nicolas from DOJ Canada. My point, actually, you raised an excellent point. Who are these young people? And irrespective of the debate, whether this is an app or a wiki, I think the idea is excellent. What it needs is some sort of sponsor with a voice, not necessarily say credibility, it's probably not the right word, but whether it's government, NGO, international, local, whatever. In this case, it seems to be international, which could push forward this initiative and probably bring together the different people who would have access, who would be interested. So I think the idea is extremely interesting. What's going to push it to give it visibility?
Excellent. Thank you so much.
And yeah, let me
go ahead, Casey.
semi-agree with you and semi-push back on who are these kids. It's amazing how powerful defaults can be. That at a certain point, something like this will be needed. And when someone goes to look for it, if If someone has already created something, that will be the go-to. For the e-discovery wonks here, the Sedona conference, in a sense, was nothing. I mean, there were certainly some important, brilliant people associated with it, but it had no authority, and yet it came out with principles that all of a sudden got cited in the case law and became the case law, that it became the precedent. And so if you're creating the default, you have an opportunity, even without real authority, to change the direction of the conversation.
Excellent point. Dennis?
So what I think is really interesting about this, and my analogy is to Creative Commons, because in this area, people are doing stuff now, and it's happening fast, and it could be years before there's definitive law or regulations. And so like in the early days of blogging, we figured out the rules for ourselves and developed norms. And I think that if you put something together like this, whether it's an app or not, where people who are doing this stuff say, I just need some guidance, and maybe it develops into models that people use later. I'm not sure it's an app, but I think that what grows out of this is sort of like a Creative Commons type of license approach, although it would be licensed here, but that sort of bottom-up approach to norms and rules that people kind of self-select into. I think it's a really potentially even an interesting movement.
George?
Yeah, and I'll jump into the rebuttal. I think the way that the original, not to what you said, but to sort of the direction that the conversation is taking, Dennis, like the original pain point this was solving is that there isn't any regulation, and what we'd like is, in place of that, a sort of next best answer. There isn't that kind of suggestion, I think, on the part of the team that they have the authority to make legislation. That needs to happen in one way or another, but in absence of that, there does need to be a forum where people can compare ideas in terms of what is generally considered socially acceptable as a norm. And that goes back to what I think the app or the productized component of this is trying to achieve, which is providing a venue and a place that just recognizes the best place to go get this type of advice and information from your peers. And I think those are two different problems to solve. One is an absence of legislation. The other is the absence of a community or an app that people can share to talk to each other and share advice on what to do with the things that are created with 3D printers, which can be quite scary or quite promising. So yeah, I think we're conflating those two conversations, but when I first heard the pitch on what the app should be, I felt that it was talking about the former, and not the sort of making legislation as being the solution. It was positive. So just wanted to clarify that.
Excellent. Craig?
The only thing I would have to add is it seems that the app is just one medium to consume the information, and I think that's probably a trend in that. I think a lot of people get focused on an app, but a website and other avenues will cause the same, and that might just be another place that would be convenient to access.
Great. We'll move on. Those are all excellent points. That's why we have you guys up here. All right, so this one's called Film Legal Information Center. It helps organize all of the business and legal needs of independent film artists and game designers. This is a very specific niche, so if any of you are in the film, gaming, or entertainment industry, please make sure you keep an eye on this, keep up with what they're saying. This one's all just sort of music, and it's on the screen, so here we go. Okay, initial thoughts on that one. Casey, can't wait to hear it.
This is unfair because I'm from LA. I went to USC.
Excellent.
Not only did a lot of my friends become entertainment lawyers, but I'm part of an in-house group that has a lot of entertainment lawyers, and I love the concept here, but I mean,
We're missing, we got some holes.
Macbethian sense of vaulting ambition. I remember talking to one studio about what they went through just to create an app to get actors sign-offs for a day of shooting that could be done on an iPad as opposed to a very Byzantine system that used to exist. This is an amazingly complicated area, and there are so many overlapping issues, whether it's copyright, unions, location permits. There are so many things that go into filming that it would be fantastic if this app existed, but I have my doubts.
Where would you start? What would be the first 3 things you would do if you were building this app?
I would simplify.
Okay.
I would take on one chunk at a time, whether it's dealing with the actors, dealing with locations, dealing with unions, dealing with getting music into the film, whatever it is. I'd focus on one thing and do that as well as you can, and then build another thing as opposed to trying to boil the ocean.
Excellent. Good analogy.
Boil the ocean is like the best metaphor ever. But I think this team spent their time making a video, not an app, unfortunately. But
what's the concept?
A component of this is already available in the Shake app, which is you can get, if you've taken a picture of somebody in public, you can get them to release the rights to their image right then and there with the Shake app, and that's awesome. I think it's one small piece of this. You know, cool idea, I guess. That you need to see it actually go somewhere though, and start to take shape.
Yeah, I want to agree with Casey. I think that as you, in apps, the more you narrowly focus them, the better. And as I looked at this, I mean, I sort of had Casey's initial reaction, but what was intriguing that really made me think in the video is that you have potentially now with smartphones like 1 billion documentary filmmakers. And so a lot of people have kids in elementary school, high school who are making their own movies. They have questions, and so I'm in St. Louis. I'm reasonably connected to the intellectual property lawyer community. I would have no idea who to refer people to. But I think that the high school, college perhaps, but even in the lower level, there's going to be simple questions. And this, again, to me, is just a directory concept where I think it needs to be a problem solver thing, where you can say, hey, I'm doing something, my class is doing film projects. What are the types of questions I need to do? What are the pitfalls I need? Can I use, certain, clips from somebody else's? Can I take pictures of buildings? And that gives access to justice. It serves a group that is never going to be able to pay lawyers to answer these questions. So if you focus in that area, then it actually becomes really interesting.
Excellent. Great. We'll move on to the next one. All right, this one's called Lost Star. It's a concept that hasn't become an app yet. It organizes all the business. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, I haven't moved on yet. Oh, I skipped one. Lost Star. Oh no, this is Incubating Innovation. This is a group of students that put together a pitch to help organize all the business and wait, I missed the wrong thing here. Just listen to it. I got the wrong I put my wrong notes. Sorry. Hey, I'm a human up here.
Hi, I'm Liz. We are students at the Blood Clinic, and our project is Incubating Innovation. We've developed a best practices model for law firms who are interested in exploring the possibility of internally housing a startup incubator or accelerator and providing counsel to the individual companies. There are several serious potential ethical issues in law firm incubators involving confidentiality and conflicts of interest. How does the law firm effectively represent the incubator as an entity while providing counsel to the individual startups? What is the best method to secure a waiver for inevitable conflicts within the incubator? How should the law firm structure dispute resolutions within the incubator? How are privilege and confidentiality implicated in an incubator setting where legal and non-legal services are part of a package deal?
We also need to consider how a law firm will be compensated for its legal services. Is it best for the startup to pay cash to compensate for legal services? This could be arranged using an hourly, monthly, or yearly rate. On the other hand, many startups during their infancy do not have the resources to pay for expensive legal services. Any monetary resources used to pay for legal fees may be better spent reinvested in the startup's actual business. Maybe the best way to structure compensation is a hybrid, where a startup is given the benefit of deferring their attorney's fees for a predetermined amount of time in exchange for a small amount of equity in the startup's business.
As Rob mentioned, the enticing compensation structure for a law firm incubator hybrid is in the form of equity in the startup fund. The model rules of professional conduct do not prohibit the lawyer from acquiring ownership interest in the client. However, the lawyer would have to comply with rules governing business transactions with clients and rules requiring that fees for legal services are reasonable. Further, the lawyer must take care of avoiding conflicts between the client's interests and the lawyer's personal economic interest as an owner. These ethical considerations raise several questions. What is a fair equity share for an attorney that still complies with the fairness and reasonableness requirement? Does an attorney need to consider more reasonableness factors than those normally enumerated in the ethical rules, given the unique nature of the startup ecosystem? And how can a lawyer best avoid the deviant economic conflicts that may arise?
We have built a workflow of our recommendations and would love a designer to help us build a tool for law firms that are interested in exploring the in-house incubator model.
So theirs is a concept again and an idea. Let's just give them some thoughts and ideas of their idea. Who goes first? George?
Sure.
Okay.
So coming from the startup world in my own career, accelerators and incubators of this type are actually quite popular, and they're a very well-established way of having larger companies or investment groups assist smaller companies and smaller groups, new startups, in achieving their dreams and in giving them both some real estate to get started and some pro tips, if you will, but also in giving them very tangible advice in terms of how to grow their businesses. And I think this is an area of innovation and entrepreneurship that the legal profession really needs to head into. Like, this is the type of thing I would be personally very excited to see happen in the space. I'm going to preempt what I think everybody down the line here is going to say, and that is that the idea of what the app itself would do is very unclear. So
yeah, I don't think this was an app.
Okay,
I think this is
the concept of an incubator.
Right, and designing a model so that if your law firm wanted to also have an incubator, here's a set of standards and ideas and models that you could start with. Like, how would I do that? Here you go.
Okay, so I think that gets back to that terrain of giving legal advice or establishing places where we need some clear advice versus providing products that will enable a lot of these problems and these pain points to be resolved. And I think that needs some additional thought. Like, it's really a place where these types of incubators exist in other fields, and we can learn from them and sort of figure out how to structure them from there. But where we take it from here, there are lots of regulations, for instance, around how one law firm can sublease space from another law firm. So those can provide some advice, and we can look at these being similar. But yeah, I think we need to see some more.
A little more meat.
A little more meat.
We need meat. We want to see the actual model. Sam.
So if there's one thing I think I know about lawyers, it's that some will go and experiment and do things, but a lot of lawyers really want a blueprint for how to do things. They want their hands held and they want to see how to do it. And so if somebody actually put together the blueprint for how a law firm incubator can work, I think, assuming it's a good blueprint, that could be really valuable. Yeah, so if this team is willing to put in the footwork to put together that model, and there's a lot of models out there. There are a lot of incubators. I think Clio is actually doing an incubator in their own offices right now. I know there's some incubators built on the B Corporation sort of business structure. There are incubators, they're trying to mimic the Y Combinator model. There's all kinds of incubator models out there. I mean, it would be really cool to gather them all in one place and say, here are the different kinds of incubators you can build. Now, go incubate.
Seems like this team would have done really well by themselves by coming here. You know, meeting all the different types of lawyers and consultants and vendors and innovators and talking to everybody at the ABA Tech Show and helping to get that model right. Maybe they should come here next year.
I totally think so. And, you know, it matters too, like how big is the law firm? I know you know, I've talked to big firms in the Twin Cities that are thinking about building an incubator, not because they're trying to send people off to start their own businesses, but because they're the companies that they work for aren't willing to spend the money to train associates anymore, and so they're going to train the associates using an incubator model as a sort of, or they're thinking about using an incubator model as a way to put the cream of the crop rise to the top, which is kind of an interesting approach too. So this could be it could be a really cool resource for helping firms figure out how to incubate both go forth and be solo, talented associates, whatever.
Excellent. Dennis, you had something?
Yeah, and this one, whenever anybody proposes something that involves law firms buying something, I just think of all the lawyers I know who would say not invented here and really, you know, struggle with that. So they have that hurdle. So when somebody comes through me with an idea like that, my favorite thing is just to flip it. Say, okay, what happens if we flip this? And so I say, well, if I'm providing an app that helps the other innovators and incubators kind of address certain structured legal questions, or you know how to put those things together, know what questions to ask, or how to go through their lawyers, then that's kind of interesting to me. I mean, I sort of like Sam's approach, you know, to say blueprints for incubators for law firms. I just don't know how many are doing that. But if you flip this idea, then to me it becomes a lot more interesting.
When you say flipping, you mean general guidance for people?
So you say the lawyers aren't the audience for this. It's actually people who do innovators who aren't lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you add the layer of a law firm and some of the alternative fee models or kind of equity models that are suggested, it seems to veer a little bit more towards something that, for me, seems like a law review kind of topic, where you know, it's kind of pushing the boundaries of maybe what's happening and what some of the legal issues are that need to be defined, rather than necessarily some of the core need that might be out there.
Excellent. All right, we'll move. Oh, go ahead, Casey, please.
I was just going to say, I can't think of a less fertile ground for an incubator than a law firm.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah.
That said, just because law firms as institutions are not particularly well suited to doing anything interesting, that doesn't mean there aren't individual lawyers out there who aren't. And something in some way to match entrepreneurial lawyers with entrepreneurs who are in incubators and to help them grow together, to me that is interesting. There are lots of lawyers who are looking for alternative ways to make money, not just selling their hours. You know, they want to help a business get off the ground. And so whether it's how to set up an incubator or how to set up, come up with creative arrangements between people in incubators and lawyers, because they do need both legal services and they can't pay for them. I'm all for that. The idea of an incubator within a law firm,
that's tough.
I'd love it.
I love it too.
I just have a hard time imagining.
Okay, excellent. All right, we'll move on. This one's called LawStar. It's an online resource for law students, by law students, a platform to exchange materials. So now we're bringing it back home to the law school. See how we do. Oh, wait, sorry. I know.
Hi, my name is Lily, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to LawStar. LawStar is an interactive and efficient online resource for law students by law students. The field of law is notoriously slow to adapt to technological advances, and LawStar looks to solve this problem. It is an interactive, incentive-based online platform where students can buy and sell textbooks, submit and receive outlines, write professor and class reviews, and access additional class materials. LawStar is more than just buying and selling textbooks. LawStar tries to help a student succeed in school in every possible way by providing outlines, class and professor reviews, and more. There are other sites that try to or can be purchased. The stars can then be redeemed for outlines, free shipping, detailed professor reviews, and more. The stars will live on the student's profile, where you'll find all their basic information, reviews, textbooks, outlines, views, and more. We want to build LawStar with a user-friendly interface, so we want to hire an ambitious design team to build a mobile application that we can then integrate into the student's life. Through these means, we will disrupt the current system and combine technology with our student community on LawStar.
Well, gentlemen, distinguished panelists, sealed rubber.
Let me just say that this is unequivocally an app.
Great.
She had me until she said the word disrupt, which of course is way overused. This seems that it could be a more efficient way to get people to allow people to buy and sell textbooks and exchange outlines. Which, look, there's nothing wrong with better. Incremental improvement is absolutely fine, and this could be an incremental improvement if executed well. I don't understand how it would be disruptive.
Yeah, to me it seemed like a total aggregator, and I wasn't interested until she started talking about this stars, and then there's this sort of gamification element that's potentially something to build something off of, but well, I don't know, it's just an aggregator to me. I'm not really sure what happens.
Needs no need.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it goes back to the thing, if you can identify something specifically, where if it becomes, when somebody said, I forget who this is, Casey, who said if you do a way to exchange textbooks or to share outlines or something like that, and so you use those, and then you build a platform under that and start adding new things that start to work and interest people. But I think, selling textbooks at the end of this semester, things like that.
Isn't there anything that does something like this already? Like, I'd be surprised. Do we have anyone in the academia and the law school? Oh, here we go. Come on, microphone.
DocStock does this with outlines. I was doing this back when I was in law school with all my outlines on DocStock. It had some sort of a rating a lot like that. If you had completed your whole profile, you got 4 stars or something like that. But I was looking at my own outlines on DocStock. They're still there. They've been downloaded 1,000 times. So DocStock is one site for the students to look at to perhaps get some ideas from. If they're going to integrate all of these into one, I think that's a great idea.
Excellent. Thank you.
So, Adriana, we actually have for this team one of the students, Lily, with us here, and she's willing, once the feedback has come in, to address a little bit of it and take it on board as she iterates the app toward the second round starting tonight.
Oh, okay. Hold on, Dazzle. Let me get you over there. Stand by, please. Technology happening. Not yet. Hold on.
Well, I can fill in some downtime while you try to get it up there. Or already solved.
Go ahead, start.
Okay, let's close the time. We'll get there. We're waiting to get you guys up on the big screen, just so you know. I know you can't see us. But what we're seeing from a product sense is very much an infomediary, right? This is an infomediary site that connects people with information that they need. Where this has become extremely exciting and really cool for me personally is to see it become a recommendation agent. So one of the things that none of the current sites that I've seen does is actually recommend something to you. Oh, were you kind of like when you buy music? Oh, you like this band, maybe you like this band. Well, you like this very popular outline. Maybe you like this other piece of content or textbook or outline that's very relevant to your field, or this course. And that would become, I think, really, really exciting for the end user of the actual app itself. So I just want to throw that in there, and it looks like our tech stack problem has been resolved.
So we never had a technology problem. We had a user problem.
Problem exists between sharing keyboard and understanding.
Okay, so let's introduce the student. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, my name is Lily, and thank you all for your feedback. I'm sorry, that's my dog. He's also very happy to be with you this evening. First, I agree completely about the app, and I think that's definitely sort of the aim would be to integrate it into a law student's life. In terms of the word disrupt, I apologize for using it, but Hey, it's a learning experience. It's great to hear people's reactions, but I think what I was referring to is the whole idea of the system. I know, for example, me as a law student now, I buy textbooks that cost me $700 every semester, and under the current system, my options are either to rent, attempt to sell it online through another site, or just get handed back $20 at the end of the semester. So our idea is to be able to bridge that gap between law students and allow them to sell it directly to each other and bargain for the best price, and just changing the model so that we're able to use each other as a resource.
Sam? Thank you, by the way, Lily.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you.
Logical reason to me to limit this to law students. It could be much bigger than that. And I don't think that there's any reason to worry that it doesn't, that Casey, and I agree, I don't think this is like a disruptive idea, and it may not be a $1 million seed round idea, but it does seem to me like a solid idea for improving the experience of buying and selling textbooks, rating teachers, giving feedback on classes, exchanging outlines, stuff like that. I think you could probably do better than what's out there, and that seems like a pretty solid business to own to me. So just because it may not be disruptive and it may not attract millions of dollars investment doesn't mean it wouldn't be a pretty sweet business to own.
But it could attract millions.
Yes, but if it doesn't, I wouldn't turn away from it as
All right, good. I love it.
I mean, I guess I don't, I'm not sure about the monetization model. I mean, maybe you could get kind of a good exchange of textbooks or something like that. Other than that, I'm not sure. But what I do like about it is it's unlike some of the other problems that some of the other ideas that have been presented. It actually solves a few real problems.
I mean, I can speak to the monetization if you want, or what our model is.
Go ahead, real quick. We'll give you a couple seconds. That'd be great.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you're looking the other way. Our basic idea. No, it's fine. It's confusing. Our idea is basically to charge a transaction fee, a small transaction fee. There's already some apps that exist now that you're selling like person to person, and they charge a very small transaction fee for that online transaction. And then, of course, the very obvious way to monetize this is with advertising. And having a group, like keeping it, for example, just to law students, and I'm not saying it would be out of the question to open it up to other types of professional schools, but what that creates is an amazing market for advertising, like obviously Barbary, Kaplan, and they basically have their exact market in one place. So it suits itself very well to that.
Excellent. Any last points before we move on? This has been awesome.
I just wanted to apologize for the disruption.
Apology accepted.
I'm a little overly sensitive on that. I actually think it's a really good idea. As I said, there's nothing wrong with better.
Build a better mousetrap.
You can make a lot of money with better.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lily. We appreciate it, and hope this feedback has been valuable.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. And I think I saw this gentleman, too, online, so maybe we'll get to hear from him. I think this is interesting. This was something I didn't know anything about. I'd never heard of a Warwick Canary. Hold on. Oh, Rex. I can't figure out why I can't play it from here. I have to go to that screen. Somebody needs PowerPoint training.
Warwick Canary is a notice published on a company website that says that the company has not received a request for consumer information from the government that was accompanied by a gag order. When the Warwick Canary disappears from the website, the company's customers know that it is under a gag order. Warwick Canaries do not solve the problem of gag orders. They merely shift the burden on the government from prior restraint to forced speech. I am delighted to be working on this project with Nicholas Merrill, an early high-profile plaintiff in a famous gag order lawsuit. He has created a website called CanaryWatch.org, where he tracks various Warwick Canaries across the United States. However, at present, he has to create custom code for each Warwick Canary. I propose to create technical standards for Warwick Canaries that will streamline the process of adding Warwick Canaries to the Canary Watch website.
Okay. Feedback.
That is a totally badass idea, and I hope he does it.
I think that really works. I think he's on. Daza, did I see him?
And I believe so. This is your project, right? So you should take yourself off mute, I think. And why don't you just introduce yourself so you can respond to some of the feedback?
Oh, hold on.
Badass feedback.
All right.
Hold on. We have a technology problem again.
Okay, so while you're sorting that
yes, please.
If people in the audience don't know, so the government, and this is sort of born of the whole NSA fiasco, where the government says, you can't tell people if we are asking for your users' data. And so what companies have done is they say the reverse. The government has not yet asked us for users' data. And then as soon as the government asks, that disappears from the website. And canarywatch.org is one of the places that is like keeping an eye on that. And so it happened to, I'm trying to remember who, I don't know if it was Dropbox or Evernote or somebody, but it happened earlier this year where the canary disappeared from their website. And about a week later, everybody was like, holy crap, it's gone. The government is after it. So standardizing that would be awesome, and it should totally happen.
All right, so let's go ahead and hear from the gentleman, the presenter. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, so please start with your name.
Okay. Hi, this is Alex Goldman. Am I on? Hello? Okay, great. Alex Goldman, and Jonathan, I don't know why you're up there, but anyway, this is Alex Goldman, and I became a fan of Nicholas Merrill many years ago when I was an internet service provider journalist serving small independent ISPs who are competing with the phone and cable monopolies. I see this project as pro-business, open source, civil disobedience. And the key part here is the civil disobedience. We need to create a critical mass of websites such as GitHub in order to, thank you. in order to get this project done.
You know, open is great, but sometimes we need the eject button, and so open discourse has lost one tonight, but I think civil discourse has gained. Please continue.
Okay, so feedback from the panel, and then we'll go back to the... Awesome. Oh, God, that is so funny.
I'm about to lose the corner I am, because I'm also completely in favor of it. I think it's great. That's it.
Okay, good. We love this idea. We want to see it go further.
Yeah, I don't really have a comment on the substance of it, but I think that the notion of this really direct focus on one problem that a lot of people have and creating a useful way so that people can get that information without having to go to multiple websites. Again, it's sort of an aggregation type app, but it could be really useful for people who are in that space. And if you build this app, then you can build something like it, and then you can build a platform, and then maybe you have something really interesting.
I think he asked, should they ask for funding? Was that you, Alex, that actually posted that question up? Okay, should they ask for funding? I don't know anything, somebody that knows something about funding.
Yeah, that might be my...
Yeah, really. I think we have a panelist that knows about funding.
Totally give money for that.
We found your seed money, Alex.
Guys, kicking me out like
Great.
that was I was in the middle of the dance. Song didn't even finish yet.
This type of technology is something that could warrant investment. With any investment outreach, you have to demonstrate product market fit. So that would be the kind of piece here is like, what are the indicators that tell us that this is reached out and actually solved the pain points? And of course, we need to see the product as well before I think we get as far as like investment. So how do we take what is kind of right now a custom, almost a hack, right? Like a manual coding job that's is ostensibly very time consuming, and how do we make it a little bit more automated and then productize it into something that can be sold at scale, right? And that's going to be challenging, but as with in compliance with what everybody said here, if that can be done, and I'm sure it can, and at that point I'm sure a lot of people would be very interested in it. It solves a tangible pain point, and is a pretty badass idea. And anything with civil disobedience always brings a smile to my face too.
And then we're facing global warming because of all the pollution
It
as
might be
well.
valuable to reach out to some of the nonprofits that are interested in stuff like this, like the EFF, the Sunfly Foundation. I'm sure you can think of others that might be willing to put a little bit of money into this. It won't make you rich, but it might pay your expenses.
And this is one of those things that, unlike some Hollywood movies, is truly made for crowd. And there's a lot of people who would pay a little bit because they support the idea. I'm one of them. And you know, it's not a revenue model, but in terms of getting the funding you need to get going, if it got out there and it went viral, you would find the support.
It's not easy, you know.
Yeah. We should all fund that thing. He should start a GoFundMe campaign, right? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. I think that's all been really great advice, and that was really funny. I have to admit, of all the things I've seen, this is my favorite. And I have yet to have to use a service like this, but I'm also not married yet, and who knows what I'm going to be up to in my mid-40s. So I'm a big fan of this. No. And I don't want to be. Hold on. Let's not get crazy here.
Just take my phone and Take My Phone is a website that allows victims of revenge pornography to use the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and the DMCA to have those photos removed from specific websites. Those who take photographs of themselves obtain a copyright interest in those photos. They're able to use the DMCA and have those photos removed from websites that may be hosted. Take My Phone now allows users to input their personal contact information to identify the offending website and identify the photograph, and the website then generates a form email that serves as a takedown notice to send to the website which is hosting the photographs. The Take My Phone Down project was begun by former Blue students, and the website itself already exists, but we believe that improvements can be made to make the website more accessible and more informative for those who may be using it. We believe that by adding content that explains revenge pornography, copyright law, the DMCA, using the site will be more informed about the process of the site, and the site itself will be less intimidating for users. We also believe that the site can be expanded to address other issues in copyright law and help those whose content may be hosted on sites to be able to take that content down. We also believe that the idea of a site which generates a form email can be used for other areas of the law, such as in expungement requests and for Freedom of Information Act requests, and a host of other issues. The site itself exists and works, but we believe that with these improvements, we can make it a more effective site, and more effectively address the problem of revenge pornography.
Okay, so this is actually already an existing website where you can go, if you've been a victim of revenge porn, and fill out the form and start the process. So check it out, and their idea is that a lot of times, especially let's say it's a young girl, she doesn't understand that she's been a victim of revenge porn. You know, these teenagers, they send pictures. So part of the goal of the site is to explain that what happened, what your rights are, and then help you address the issue. So let's go. Sam.
It doesn't sound like it even has to be limited to revenge porn. It can be limited to any photos that you have an interest in. For example, my wife and I don't post pictures of our kids publicly. She's uncomfortable with it, and I'm okay with that, so we don't. So you have an interesting thing to use for that. You know, I think the only problem, and this isn't an objection to the idea, it's just a problem that I think they need to address, is how do you make sure it doesn't get abused? If anybody paying attention to YouTube knows that there are companies out there who are using scripts and bots to serve DMCA takedown requests to anything that looks like their stuff, whether or not if there's fair use involved. And so they're getting a lot of legitimate videos taken down because the default when you get a DMCA takedown request is you take it down and then somebody has to object to keep it back up. So the only problem with something like this is that the easier you make it for people to take things down, the easier you make it for people to game that system and take things down illegally. So you would just want to make sure that you build in some protection from that. One, obviously make sure there's some sort of a CAPTCHA on it to prevent bots from using it. But maybe you add in some additional stuff, because you can totally see people using this offensively to make trouble for people. You can see people harassing other people by demanding that they take down their legitimate photos, which is not quite as bad as posting their naked pictures in the first place, but it can be a problem. So it's not I don't think it's a reason not to do this project, but it's a reason to, it's just something to take into consideration in the submission process.
So I think those of you who haven't blocked it yet have seen the fat turkey now. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to show it one more time, okay?
Is the student there?
I don't believe so, but we have one. We've basically supersized this to the professor, Jonathan Askin, who's been working on this topic in various ways across a lot of different problem spaces in time. Jonathan, did you have something you wanted to add to fill this out?
If you want a thumbs down, that's fine too.
Yeah, I want to get rid of this taco guy though. Hang on a second. How do I mute him?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm on it, and you go ahead and speak, and I'll block and
So what do
tackle.
you think about the fat turkey?
Good. Thanks. So look, for any of the projects to which my students are not available now, I'm happy to answer any question. But very briefly, on the revenge porn concept, I think the panel hit it dead on. This is the way we envision revenge porn. We want to make revenge porn essentially the free application on a network that actually could charge for some services. So, for instance, if you want to do a regular DMCA takedown, there may be a small fee, maybe $25, to have this streamlined letter formation distribution tool that writes the letter and sends it to the proper person with the proper law cited. And that could cost a little bit. But the idea would be to let them pay and then to offer up revenge porn as a free service. Now, it extends itself beautifully, I think. Do folks know the concept of doxing yet? Is that on everyone's radar yet, doxing?
I see some nodding heads. Yep.
All right. So to me, doxing is sort of the corollary to revenge porn. And this could apply equally in a doxing context. We could study the law on doxing and spit out a form letter that requires the person to take down the doxed site. We're thinking about extending it now to mugshots. So imagine, if you will, this is almost easier than the revenge porn context. If you imagine the photograph of a mugshot person, the copyright arguably belongs to either the police photographer or the municipal police department. If we could find a few friendly police municipalities, they might want to let people who have had their mugshots taken get a fresh start and not allow a mugshot website take advantage of them, and every time someone does a search on this person, this is the first thing that comes up. We're also thinking about extending it to expungements. Now, you're in Illinois. Illinois is actually the state that actually has developed this concept, but it does not exist in other states. Shouldn't there be a streamlined process for someone to get an easy expungement of their record? There are so many, I think, bright people who just don't know how to maneuver the system to expunge a childhood record. We're thinking about then extending it on the sort of the flip side, allowing it to create a streamlined letter writing process for FOIA requests. How difficult is it for you to FOIA yourself all over this country? It's still incredibly cumbersome, even for sophisticated attorneys, to do FOIA for their clients or FOIAs for themselves. If we could take this platform and apply it in the FOIA context, we've essentially created a platform that I think serves multiple duties along the lines of what I think your panelists have already discussed.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm going to flip back because we only have 2 more to do and we're kind of running short on time, but let me come back to you guys. Okay. Yeah, 2 left. All right, let's do this. Now I've got to do this. This. No. Hold on, Adriana. Okay. This one's quiet for a second, so I'm going to speed it up.
Monitors have this software that allows users to get real-time information and common offenses for tickets and citations for minor infractions. We can run that specifically.
Oh, I think he's coming.
Try to find that and see if it's Actually, yeah, because you want to yeah.
Hold on. Okay, here we go. I'll start it here.
It's for parking, traffic, and low-level criminal infractions.
New York City alone issues over 10 million parking tickets annually, bringing over $600 million in revenue. Many individuals who receive those tickets do not know all the legal remedies available to fight the tickets or the ramifications of pleading guilty. The sheer volume of tickets create inefficiencies in the system and ruins interactions for citizens with the justice system. The system, its rules, and penalties are confusing and not created for the digital age. Our solution to the problem is legal capture, a smartphone-based app. Using technology licensed from MyTech Systems, our app lets users take a picture of a ticket and get real-time information through our app. MyTech is the company that developed the technology behind secure mobile check deposits, and as part of Berkeley Law's CUBE competition, our team applied and was accepted to the developer API program. Once the picture of the ticket is taken, several data points are extracted. This includes the type of infraction, statute, date, time, location, and more. Data is cross-referenced with databases. For a minimum viable product, we will focus on New York City parking tickets as the primary use case. Suppose you receive a parking ticket. Once you snap a picture of the ticket with legal capture and confirm the data is accurate, the app will analyze the data and explain to the user the required elements of the ticket are various bite-sized bits of information that a ticket agent is required to enter in the front of a parking ticket to establish the case against them. If any of the required elements are wrong, you are entitled to dismissal of your parking ticket upon application and presentation of proper proof. So, after examining the ticket, the app sees that the body type of the car is wrong. The ticket agent inserted SUVN, or Suburban, when your car is a Ford DSD, or four-door sedan. The ticket is a winner. How did the app know? In real time, the app can see the license plate, see that the car is registered in New York, and do a lookup of the vehicle type in the DMV registration database. The app will prepare a defense letter stating that the body type is misdescribed and submit a copy of the user's vehicle registration and a few photographs of the car showing the license plate and demonstrating in fact that the car is a four-door sedan rather than a Suburban. All the information is submitted electronically to the New York City Department of Finance, ultimately leading to a dismissal of the ticket in 2 to 3 months. The app can be built to handle different types of tickets as well as enterprise use cases geared towards fleet owners and delivery companies. Lastly, for issues too complex for the app to handle, users can be referred directly to lawyers. There are ethical considerations that will need to be taken into account when doing this. Legal capture is a for-profit entity. The MyTech licensing fee is 50 cents or less per snap, so we need to address that cost. We might do this through a paid app or by paying for advanced services. Also, if we do act as a bridge to connect users to attorneys, we need to make sure that we're not violating ethical concerns, but still possibly draw a fee for this transaction. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Lefebvre. Oh, Sam's going for the mic.
Well, I was pretty sure.
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
I was pretty sure that this was a solved problem. There's an app called Fixed that does some of this, maybe not quite all of what their ambitions are, but it's not an entirely new project. And it looks like the current app must be a front end for a network of attorneys that does these things in bulk. Which I know that the model of an attorney who just waits until they capture.
Oh, I'm sorry. I started playing it again.
The idea that a lawyer will wait until they've got some sort of a 20 or 50 or 100 parking tickets and then bargain them all in bulk is nothing new. I know lawyers who've been doing that for years, but it looks like that's what this Fixed app is the front end for.
Okay.
So it looks like there's a little bit of this already happening, but the idea of one that would automate some of the defenses, that's pretty sweet.
Okay, we like the idea. Anyone else? Suggestions, ideas?
I thought this was going to be the most interesting app of the evening when they started. And, because I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, right? So all the Ferguson stuff that's happened, a lot of it relates to these misdemeanor and traffic accidents and the difficulty people have in dealing with them. And I thought this is where they were going. And then it's parking tickets, so that's a big letdown for me. And this was really hard for me to see how it works, especially if there's something else out there that just seems so limited, and it seems to focus on where you got a parking ticket and you actually didn't do anything wrong, where I think a lot of times you get the parking ticket you actually did something wrong. So I'm not really sure where the audience for this is, and I really don't understand the
the revenue model either. Yeah, the licensing fee would be really problematic.
Okay.
You don't know you have a problem until you actually get paid, and you pay in advance or have it.
So this one needs a little more research. George?
I think from the monetization perspective, if this can save someone a $30 parking ticket, they pay $1.99 to buy it off the App Store. So
sure.
Through an App Store purchase, I don't think that there's the ongoing licensing fees that need to be addressed, but I think there's some pretty low-hanging fruit opportunities to monetize the model. It would just be more appropriate to consider the scope of the pain point that it solves. Like, yeah, I think we walked through like the parking ticket example, but if there's more that it can help people with, I think it would make it more attractive to both the end user, but also to the attorneys who would stand to get referrals from the use of the app, which is another community that we need to market to and actively recruit.
Excellent. All right, we'll move on. And this one's interesting. This one comes from a law school.
We happen to have a student, Ben, whose project it was. I don't know, he may have not anything to say, but just so you know, he's on the Hangout with us, and, Adriana, you might want to ask.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to address some of the points that the panel brought up.
Let's hear it, Ben. Let him have it. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So the gentleman who mentioned St. Louis and the criminal infractions approach. One of our ideas going towards this was an access to justice approach and being able to educate people who receive low-level criminal infractions with ideas for defenses, and that builds upon also the first gentleman's comment about something unique we could be doing, not just in taking a picture of parking tickets, but some really interesting machine learning, real-time access to legal information. When we presented this at Brooklyn Law, we had some pushback about some ethical concerns that might be implicated by doing that, whether or not it might be the unauthorized practice of law. So that's something we've been looking into since then. But parking tickets was really just a proof of concept, something to bring as a minimum viable product to prove that we can extract data from a ticket and process that data and deliver a use case to consumers or enterprise. The goal is to do more advanced tickets than just parking spots. But thank you for this opportunity to present it and for your guys' comments.
Yes.
I'm not trying to resist, but this is my favorite of the night. I'm sorry. And I know where you live with a $3 ticket, so my FLS is way over 100. And I would happily pay 50 cents if there's a hope that I could get this dismissed. So, and I'm about to move to LA where it's like 3 times as much. So I think it's a great app. And I do know attorneys that actually specialize in like, oh, you put an SUV instead of a sedan or in the wrong color or something and get the ticket dismissed. So, I mean, if people could do that on their own, there is an ethical, issue about practicing law, but I think it's a great app. I'm sorry, it's great.
Great. Thank you for your feedback. All right, we got one more to see. We got a few minutes left, so I'm going to load this one up. And I started to say this one's from UMKC Law, and it has to do with OIDC, so I'm going to load this baby up. And the law professor is here. We're going to have him come up and tell us, and, talk a little bit about what they're doing over there. Tell us about the program. And Adriana needs PowerPoint training. She doesn't. It's fine.
Hi, my name is Evan Absher, and I'm a law student here at UMKC Law. I also work for the city of Kansas City, Missouri. My teammates could not join me for this recording of C-Court and Paul Barnum. But we're working on a project that tackles the issue of data privacy, identity, and how legitimate business interests, public and private individual can facilitate the best use of data that also protects people's interests and promotes business innovation. And through that, we kind of determined that an OAuth 2 protocol or OpenID Connect or maybe Auto would provide the tools by which consumers and users and citizens could have notice and choice over how the data is used, who collects it, and what is done with it. This would allow business interests to have secure, good data, but it would also allow governments to protect its citizens. So the use case we're using is the liquor permit application in Kansas City, Missouri. If you're a waiter and you want to serve liquor, you need to submit to a background check to make sure that you are not a felon of a certain kind. It's $42, and it's pretty invasive for just a small piece of paper. We thought, well, if felony is part of a persona, is an aspect of your persona, then it should be under the identity provider. And so the municipality is an identity provider. It could verify your felony status with, let's say, the relying party, which would be a WordPress site because it is the Regulated Industries Department of Kansas City, Missouri. So with that in mind, we think this is an improvement, a possible improvement over traditional OpenID Connect architectures because municipality or government entities interested align with the users more than, let's say, Google's would. Also, municipality has access to an already built and robust and comprehensive trust federation, which would then allow it to answer all these standard claims that are very, very detailed, very personal, but are in the trust federation already. Also, it would control the claims to just answer the application, which would be far less invasive than a general background check, which happens now. So that's our basic idea. I hope that's under 2 minutes, and I hope that explains it enough. All right, thanks. Bye.
Okay, Craig, you look like you want to say something. No, okay. George.
No, I think what Craig's response was, and it was kind of like the opening when you're saying, well, what's an API?
Oh.
The pitch, I think, had some problems just in the clarity. I think I got it at the end, which is the ability to, instead of having an invasive background check, just having yes/no answers, and having that communicated and accessible in a way that is much less invasive. But I don't know about anyone else in the room, but I had a very hard time following it.
Michael, do you know more about this that you can help?
I do.
Stand up to the microphone. Yeah, please. So this is Michael Roback. He's with the UMKC Law Library. Introduce yourself to us.
Right. Hi, I'm Michael Roback. I am the Associate Law Library Director and Director of IT for the University of Missouri Kansas City School of Law. I am, among other things, a recovering attorney, having practiced for a long time before I got my Master's in Library Information Science. But we at UMKC are building off of Dan Katz's work, or not, but in Kansas City we have the Openng Foundation, and they have funded a Law Schools Technology and Access to Justice conference last July that led to a partnership with MIT, as well as Jonathan Askin at Brooklyn Law School, as well as the city of Kansas City, Missouri, to work through several projects that are important to the Smart Cities Initiative around the United States. So one of the things this is actually designed to do is not just help with liquor license, which is kind of a weird thing. So if you're going to be a waiter in a establishment that serves liquor, you have to pay $42 to go through this invasive process. That's one use case of ID authentication for any kind of municipal activity. So what we really started with, we're creating an API for business permits, for zoning processes, for really any interaction with any municipal activity there is that you would have as a citizen, and try and make it scalable. Now, Gaza can speak to this probably a little bit better because he's been our partner in this project. Jonathan Askin has also been our partner in this project. But actually, next weekend, we're going to be hosting a legal hackathon in Kansas City, in which this particular project will actually be built into a prototype and demonstrated.
Let me ask, can I ask you about it?
Yes.
So is the idea that I have sort of a profile that includes my criminal history, whatever, and that's securely held by the municipality, maybe. And if I want a liquor license, I just say, can I get a liquor license? And it returns a yes or no.
That's part of it. The idea is that you actually release those pieces of data associated with that request. Right.
But the difference is that instead of my
the profile of the things, the information about me that might be needed to provide me basically any license the municipality might need to grant is held in a profile somewhere securely, as opposed to me having to, let's say I want to list a liquor license one weekend and a marriage license the next week, and I have to gather all that information, submit it.
Right. No, the idea is to contemplate with the system, municipality level.
Okay,
so then you don't have to then, no, that's exactly it. So every agency you deal with has a lockbox, basically, of that data to draw from, without having to resubmit a form 8, 9, 10, 12 times, right? So the idea is the municipality becomes the trusted repository because they already have this information anyway, or at least a good chunk of it, or the right to get to it.
Right.
And so that's the sort of impetus behind it.
Oh, but they get to it through a vendor, right? Like they don't have this information that own it. Right?
I'm sorry.
They have the right to get to the data through a vendor, right? Through a license, or some kind of the information that provides the background check. Right. That's not housed within the municipality itself.
Well, okay, so we go back to the three branches of government. It's somewhere within the governmental structure. Right?
Yeah, but I guess my point is it's aggregated by a vendor.
Well, no. Okay, so that's the bad part, right? Cities, municipalities, government agencies have sold off this stuff to maybe not Thompson, but certainly Relics, whatever they are now. You have some too, right? But the whole point is that the municipalities were trying to monetize what they were doing, and I know this because I worked in Minneapolis as part of a project that did some of that stuff. Yeah. But the problem is that then it's gone. It's with the third-party vendor. When in fact the municipality should be the one to be the trusted repository for that information.
So you're saying if every municipality that houses this information participated, then it would be aggregated and available to everyone?
Well, okay, so that's what we haven't worked through necessarily. This isn't necessarily an aggregation. It's more like a scalable model. So we can do it in Kansas City. They can do it in Kansas City, Missouri. They can do it in Kansas City, Kansas. Or they can do it in St. Louis. Or they can do it in some other municipality. Potentially, they could in some way share that information across borders. But that's a different issue. It's really about a particular municipality within a particular entity.
Can I fill that out for just a little bit, Adriana? Just for a quick moment. It's seminal.
I'm going to ask you to be quick because we've got to wrap this up in a few minutes over. And I want to make sure and give you and Jonathan a minute to talk about what you all are doing. So yes, just real quick. If
I'll forego talk about what I'm doing to just clarify this and leave it to Jonathan to wrap. So this project has legs. This OpenID Connect, the trick with it is it's not like identity systems, so the conversations you're having largely apply to SAML, security assertion markup language, PKI, those types of systems, aggregation, central systems. This is distributed by nature, and it's federated by nature. That's the core of the design of OpenID Connect and the OAuth permissions basis that it's built upon. And so right now, every faculty, student, and staff at MIT can log into a number of sites, vendors and otherwise, with our MIT ID using OpenID Connect. And we did a prototype with City of Boston with UMKC to let small businesses log in to do their filings and so forth with OpenID Connect using their own identity, the same that they log into their systems in the morning. Individuals can do it as well. This is really a game changer now for authorized permission-based sharing of identity and personal data. So it's worth taking a look at OpenID Connect a little bit to understand how it works and how it's distributed, and then apply what you were just saying to the system. And I'll bet you there's a lot of business models in here that just want to be born. Thank you, Adriana.
No, that's awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. While we have you on the screen, if you would just take a moment. First of all, I have to thank you so much for helping us make all this happen. I think this has been very, very cool. But if you would just take a minute to tell us a little bit about what's happening at law.mit.edu and what you're doing, it would be great.
Thank you. So I want to just thank you, Adriana, and Joshua, and everyone at ABA TECHSHOW for being such great partners and so intrepid in putting together last minute an online legal appathon. That is exactly how we roll here, and so we've been terrific with you. We've got some great projects. Really, what's going on at law.mit.edu is what's going on here. You look at a lot of these heads down here, like Jonathan Askin, David Colarusso, Caitlin, and others. not so much taco. We've got these collaborators who are participating in online informal events in a network of sharing collaboration innovation in classrooms, law schools across the country and the world now, in law firms, and most importantly in the private sector with people hacking projects. It's just the MIT part. So we're putting together curriculum, and there's research and workshops and mostly hackathons. And we'd very much like a partnership from any folks at TechShow. I think are the natural constituency. But you know, in a sense, TechShows come to us. So I encourage everybody to go to legalapathon.com, the domain that Adriana came up with, and we've been helping to populate with the site. I think by tomorrow morning, it's fair to say that I can commit to actually finishing it, so that everyone should be able to go on and see all the projects, rate them, and engage more deeply, and get something rolling toward the next tech show and the next. If I had anything I could say, I hope that you could allow David Colarusso to speak on the way to Jonathan to say goodbye.
Yeah, I will.
And thank you all very much. We'll put everything together for you as best we can for the closing plenary. We're like wrapping up the projects and having a better, more curated experience for you. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks. So I do want to give David Colarusso a second to hop on, because Jaza and Jonathan have both been very hopeful that we would give him a few minutes to talk about what he's doing. So I'm going to push him up to the top. Hey, David.
Hey. So I'm an attorney in Massachusetts with the Public Defender's Office. And we built a tool that actually allows our attorneys to become programmers. And so we've made that free, and it's open source, so anyone can use it. So all of you who are sitting there in the audience thinking, hey, you know, if only I could program, well, now you can get your feet wet. If you just go over, and this will be a huge time suck, I bet, for you tonight when you, you know, after you go out and have some drinks, go back and do some programming. And if you go to qnamarkup.org, that's qnamarkup.org, you'll find that you can type stuff here, hit a little button, and then what you've got is you've got a system that creates expert systems and also document automation. So I can do stuff like, I have a simple example here. All of this code right here is all you need to make this, and let me show you what this is. You want to write a letter to Santa? Yep. Name, okay. Oh, I've been naughty. What do I want? Oh. And do you want to see my letter? Sure. And now I have instructions. Proofread my letter, print it out, mail it, and you'll see that it has integrated all the information I said. It says I want a ball. There's my name. And all of that was done with just those dozen lines of code. So just take that and think maybe you're writing a demand letter, maybe you're automating some of your motions, maybe if instead of creating a document you send people places. So we use it on our website to send clients to the right departments, because we ask them, we just do an interview and send them on their way. So only takes 20 minutes to read all the documentation. There's a video. Go play. Have fun.
And I'll help a little bit with this. So when I was up at MIT, it just so happened that on that day the Boston Bar was doing a presentation. They had Andrew Perlman, one of Casey's partners. They had the gentleman that won the Suffolk Law Hackathon and came second in the Loyola. Anyway, these very cool lawyers. And they were showing this tool, and I thought, holy moly, this is actually something I could teach a lawyer how to use and write some code and create some forms and get some information out of your clients very easily. So like you said, if this is the type of thing where you as a lawyer have thought, oh man, I'd love to develop my custom forms, ask some custom questions, how would I get this done without it costing a lot of money? This tool can help you do that, and they have a tutorial, and I'm sure David would be willing to help any of our ABA Tech Show attendees learn how to use that tool a little bit better. So check it out, and we can talk about it a little bit more later. I want to end with Jonathan real quick. Jonathan, I'm going to pop you up to the top. If you would just take a moment to explain what you're doing at Blip, I think it's really cool. And again, I want to thank you and all your students. I hope this was helpful for them. I want to thank our panelists, of course, for all their time. But tell us a little bit about what's going on at Blip.
Sure. Well, for my students who are on this, I hope they took copious notes and will take it back to their projects. For the students who have not had the pleasure of being on this Hangout, I'm hopeful we'll be able to get a video memorialized so that I can share the insights from the panelists and the folks over in Chicago with the students, because they were wonderful, wonderful insights. I always get I'm always skeptical about normal lawyer events, but this is a really smart, tech-savvy crowd. This is wonderful. So, the truth of the matter is, I just feel like a proud papa whenever I see my students, push the envelope. So I think the videos, largely, and the student responses speak for themselves. I want to say this is an iterative process, and I am psyched that Daza and I and others will be in Kansas City starting next Thursday. We missed you all by a week. We'll be in Kansas City working with the folks at UMKC and the Kauffman Foundation on a whole array of interesting issues. I hope that some of the projects we've been able to demo today will be built over the next few days, and then next week, and then on into the next months. So some of these are more developed than others, and I hope within the next years most of them will be more fully realized. I just want to say that the two things that my students and I focus on, we provide essentially day-to-day transactional support work and litigation support work and policy support work for unfunded startups. And this is sort of just a piece of the puzzle. For us, it comes down to doing two things. Making sure that we can use the law to the best advantage of societal and technological progress, but also to use tech tools. I think this is more of what we've seen here, to use tech tools to advance the law and law reform, to advance the law and legal process. And so that's sort of where we tried to focus our energies this week with you all. And I hope we all take home the fact that we can be as disruptive as the pure technologists out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone. We want to thank Thomson Reuters again for sponsoring us, for that beautiful open bar that's been back there all night. And again, if you're interested in giving more feedback, and if any of these apps and ideas have been something that sort of touches your heart a little bit, make sure you either go to watch the video. I'm sure that the students would be interested in further feedback, and keep an eye on Twitter, of course, because that's where it's all happening. Thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody.
Nice.
Oh, Debbie Foster finally showed up. It's about time.
I want to say if all night coding Q&A markup, I think.
It's a great idea, Donna.
Thank you. It's a good thing that David Colarusso will be answering questions in the GitHub repository with the ticket system.
That's true. If you go to the, let me show you this.
Thing of beauty, David.
Yeah, but I even got an email there for you guys.
Hey! You're a nerd. You shouldn't be so pretty. Get out of here. Hey, man. I love
David,
painting.
okay, are you going to sign off from Chicago? Thanks, Adriana. Bye. Okay, just us chickens now. So we can actually hack the law. But what are you showing us, David? Yeah, if anyone on this call doesn't know about this, I think Jonathan's seen it and Caitlin's played with it and at the Prototype Jam. This is worth seeing. This is revolutionary, and this dude is the dude. What you got, David?
So no, I was just showing you that I actually went ahead and included an ABA TECHSHOW shout out on the syntax page with more information about the same thing I did for the UMC for the Prototype Jam. So
I think the lyric is tweet and shout, tweet and shout. Yeah.
So
back to you.
So you guys are gonna. You keep saying next weekend for the for Kansas City. Is there something next weekend and then the weekend after?
It's the 25th and 26th in Kansas City. It's also the 25th and 26th the Legal Hackers Congress in Chicago. So there's two things concurrently. So I guess it's 10 days from now.
Okay, that's why I wasn't. It didn't quite hit my 7-day mark because I'm in the middle of a week. It's weird. I'll be there too, actually. So yes.
In Kansas City.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Daza, why are you making that face? You're muted.
Nobody tells me nothing.
I told you in an email the other day. You don't read your emails.
Oh, well, okay, that's true. It's 1,000 emails a day, man. It's like it should be a war crime.
I'm booked on one of the morning flights that a bunch of people got, so we should share a car with whoever is on that flight.
I'm gonna be there too.
Cool.
So I'll be seeing y'all there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Caitlin will be there. Huh. This is very, very good. So
I think I'm on the 8:30 flight out of Logan in the morning.
And Jonathan,
which morning?
Sorry, go on, David.
Which morning?
Which morning?
You know what? I put it in my calendar and then never remember. So let me look at my calendar.
Calendar knows.
There were other people who were on that flight.
Well, because Daz and I have to be out there Thursday.
Yep. Jonathan and I are going to do a side trip up to Chicago for the Legal Hackers. What was it, like convocation and
yeah, I'm
Congress.
flying out on the 26th. So that's Sunday morning.
Oh, you'll be there for the Access to Justice. We'll be back by then.
I'll be at the Access to Justice. That's why I was getting my dates weird.
Yeah, we'll be back in KC on the 26th. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Caitlin, I'm so sorry that they didn't talk about your amazing.
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know how that didn't get there, but.
Me neither. I gave her the. I think I do know. I think it was mostly my fault because I got the videos from you directly, but they weren't submitted through the form, and so they didn't go into the normal feeds with and so it's just literally I should have forwarded what you sent me to like Adriana and Lloyd and everybody.
Yeah, no, it's okay. As long as I can still hack with people, and well, Jonathan, you said that once I start getting my ideas, then you guys will help us.
We'll be your lawyers.
Okay, that's great. Cool.
That's the maximum. And Caitlin and I went through pretty good detail when I was in New York over the last couple of days about her company. It's now, and part of starting the business is with licensure. Like there's a particular intake form. You ask injuries, and there's some things. New York statutes require that that there's a plan of some sort that's communicated. A health plan to the client, and that the records are kept for like 7 years, certain ones. And so she naturally, like a normal person, said, "Okay, where's the app for this?" And there's no app for this, and so she's like entrepreneurially said, "Okay, well, let's hack an app so she can use it, and then who knows?" So we've been building it out, and there's some nice legal issues in here, and some of this stuff I really like. My go-to is Q&A markup for some of the intake stuff and some of the other types of decision trees in terms of informed consent, and there's some different stuff. It's not like a medical expert system per se, but it's real handy. Like there's a lot of embedded knowledge and it can be shared. And there's a lot of legal issues, Jonathan, too. Now we're talking about personal data. And we're talking about apps where people can share out their personal data with their therapist and with others in community and analyze it. I'm thinking personal data stores where you might put some of the data that her app collects so that she can see it at their next appointment with her iWatch she wants to integrate. Cool, very cool. So it's a great example of like an American entrepreneur, and even though we didn't get a chance to get to it, I think with ABA TECHSHOW, I think we ought to just take it forward a little bit and on the closing plenary, show them what it looks like to have a project in GitHub, use some of the tools, Q&A markup, chief among them, I think, and then, but I think I don't know what to do on your part, Jonathan, because I've never engaged with your client work clinically, so I don't know if it's unrealistic to begin to frame it out or to mock it or just really to have an appointment for next month to begin to talk about it. But you'll have to tell us what makes sense within the container of the hackathon and going forward, so we can reflect and support it well in the little video and the little write-up that we make at the end of for Saturday when they show on the plenary. But I'd like to feature everybody that's been collaborating prominently. And we get together and we do a barn raising for Caitlin's business. That's my thinking.
Okay, look, I mean, our bread and butter is essentially giving this early stage legal support. Now, the problem is I'm not running Blip this summer, so to the extent we're giving her free legal support, it will have to start at the end of August. But that's going to be, the timing's okay. You could still, until you have liability issues, there isn't much you need to do except sign it, make sure no one steals your ideas. But come the end of August, we'll incorporate you, we'll do your web documentation, we'll protect your.
That's great. Yeah, that's great, Jonathan. So between now and then, I think I'm going to just be working on the ideas, the design of the app, and seeing what I can do.
Beautiful. One other quick thing, Jonathan, you don't really know David Colarusso, so you wouldn't, he looks like a normal human in terms of, but he isn't.
Follow me on Twitter, so now we're really close.
Yeah.
It looks like on Twitter he hired a baby to make himself look lovable or something.
That's right.
No, that was his wife that hired that, I think. But so.
Guys, I'm gonna go right now, but thank you for inviting me. Nice to see you guys both. Talk to you soon.
Namaste.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. So David is there's a bank shot here that I just want to put out quickly because it's moving as we speak. So I'll just tell you, I guess, David, because you have no context. Jonathan is incredibly well hooked, and one of the things that happened in his class over the last couple of weeks was the New York Attorney General's office came to town, and specifically it was the Internet Division, and they're trying to do a lot with data and analytics. Exactly like public counsel, where you work, and if you don't know this, Jonathan, David is the new, the first data scientist. Is that what it's called, or like
Yeah, it's still not quite. We're still arguing about names and stuff. Right now, I'm on temporary assignment. It's the longest temporary assignment ever.
Yeah. So what occurs to me is like the stuff that they're asking for. They submitted projects for the Appathon, and one of them was like forms, and that's okay, and it speaks to some of your like just like freaking muscular and clear workflow stuff with Q&A markup and your other stuff. But the big one here, the big value, and I do want to help them with that, but I don't want to distract you. So the big thing that was the other two are data analytics, and it's like at scale. It's a powerful shop, and the Internet Bureau Chief has a very capable young data scientist on staff, and they. As a result of brainstorming with them in Jonathan's class and a couple of hangouts afterwards, we decided to do a proper thing. And what we're going to do is we'll have a kind of charrette and a design session where we look at their data and have a lot of people online and a few people talking in about 3 weeks or so the second week of May. And then we're going to have a lot of people come to somewhere in either Brooklyn Law School or CUSP or maybe the AG's office in New York and do like a 10 or 15 person, like really deep charrette that goes a few hours. And think through, okay, what is the right way to compose a project here that could be meaningfully advanced in deep partnership with civic hacking communities. And so it's a nice, really great opportunity, I think, to showcase your day job stuff, like what you're trying to do with the,
Yeah, what I'm always looking for in my day job is, it's convincing. I mean, we all know how hard it is to convince attorneys to do something new. It's showing them that it can be done. And so if there's an existing use case that we can point to and say, here are some people who have done something.
That's the package of time we have. We have 2 charrettes before that that Jonathan and I are like basically facilitating. And I think it would make a hell of a lot of sense to have you be one of the more prominent people that we have come in as a subject matter expert to help hack the solution. And then guess what happens on June 7th? What happens on June 7th is when you go and explain to folks how the data science approaches make sense, and credible attorneys like the Attorney General's office in New York are going this direction. Like when they look at the site and look at the videos and look at the GitHub repo, your fingerprints will be all over it and you'll be very familiar with it. You could reuse components of it. You can advance it in ways that they can't, honestly. They don't have the capability that you individually have or that you can do with your people, your network at MIT and elsewhere. So I feel like we can put a little bit of, there's a seed that Jonathan put in the dirt and he showed it to us. If we put a little bit of water on this between now and June 6th, I think that you could get a lot of value over time, and you could help create something that doesn't exist now and create that model that we need.
Yeah, no, I think that, I mean, I have to always, I'll have to talk it over with the CIO, but I think we probably could find time for me to do that.
Are you going to do June 6th in Boston or in New York or somewhere else?
We're talking about the National Day of Civic Hacking, and I'm completely agnostic as to where I do it. Well, I'll go wherever the nation's civic hacking is burning brightest.
David, when's your next trip to New York?
My next trip to New York is whenever I have a good excuse and can figure out whose couch I'm going to stay on.
Okay, well, I think you guys should probably come down together. And I do think it makes sense for you to meet the AG Internet Bureau crew, to meet the Beta NYC crew, to meet Ben Kalos if you haven't met him yet, and should probably sync it up with something going on at Civic Hall, if you know those folks.
Oh, yeah, no, funny story. I mean, Andrew, I used to work with them on, we did stuff way back in 2007 with PDM, back when PDM was PDF.
So, and is PDF going to be I think it's the end of June. And
Usually the end of June, yeah.
Yeah, all right. You know, I'm supposed to actually do an event over at Civic Hall at some point in June. I think that would be our hook to get you down there.
Yeah, I think that would work pretty well. Yeah, and yeah, Andrew and I used to when the time comes, I usually come to PDF. Wasn't able to make it last year, but.
All right, good. And Daz, I've been begging you to come to PDF also, so we'll think about
it. Listen, I'm not kidding when I say I'm literally just waiting for an invitation. It's invite only. Like, I have shown up in the past without an invitation. I'm not allowed to go in. Like, they stop you. It's awkward.
A PDF? Really?
Yes. Yeah, like I have no badge. I try to talk my way in, and like, I don't know, maybe it's like lower standards now, but I could not get in before.
Well, the trick,
like I don't have an invitation. I'm not kidding when I say that.
Oh, I wonder if it's too late for us to get you on a panel.
Go for it. Like, I would love that.
All right.
Just to prove that
I've got to talk to those guys early next week.
Yeah, say hi for me. They'll remember. I worked on 10 questions with them. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's how David and I met each other. It's crowdsourcing, you know, like tons of questions, and we're going to town with that. Let me tell you. So I'd like to send David the data science projects, Jonathan, so he can start getting his head around them.
Good.
Yeah. It's like kind of doing social graphs and like you know, nodes and edges mapping of like, you know, who's giving money and who has a state contract, and you know, and then some other stuff too. They're a little bit fuzzy on exactly what it would be, but it's a lot of possibility here.
Do they have a good understanding of what data sets they have control over?
Oh yeah, no, yes and no.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're saying no.
I know, no, I say yes. They know all the websites. Yeah, they have the links. I don't know how much they've plowed through them all, but New York has been pretty good about making them relatively accessible. What's the site, NYC?
Yeah, well, so that's one thing. There's two. So the NY's Attorney General's office has got a bunch of data sets where people are obliged to file them with them, like charities, and you know, same as Massachusetts. And then most of the open data sets are in the governor's side, and so like data.ny.gov on the state level. And you know, it's different constitutionally elected political figure, and like it was pretty clear talking to them that if we were to hack something together, we'd best figure out exactly which data sets they truly control and own or are in like long-term stable friends of theirs, and then those would be the ones we'd look for. So most of the stuff in data.ny.us, well, you know, maybe you could get a batch and bring it down to seed something. I think systemically we probably wouldn't be looking there, you know, just because of, you know, the constitutional separation of powers.
Right.
But the data sets they have are really awesome. They've got all state contracts through a stable partner, and they've got the authoritative filings for like all the lobbying, the election stuff, like campaign stuff, and
what are
a bunch of other stuff.
What are their expectations to get out of it? What do they think they're going to get?
What do you reckon, Jonathan?
Look, their whole ambition, I think, is to be state of the art. You know, the leader in opening up the government to its citizens. I don't know. I mean, beyond that, you know.
Okay, well, this is why we have the meetings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked it over.
They're very proactive.
In further detail, and I mean, one thing in the short term is what we would do is incredibly useful, which is look at the data sets they have. And I said, well, one thing we can do is we can get together good, smart, creative people that are willing to think out loud and share, be helpful and innovative in a group, and start brainstorming what are the things we can do, like, you know, projects they've heard of or ideas that we get that we brainstorm. We start enumerating them and scoping them out so that you may have like a little bevy of like 5 projects that you could take forward. Now you have a basis for evaluation and prioritization that they really don't have right now. So that was part of what we did, and we started scoping out the data that they had, and that's why we wanted to do a shred. And Jonathan, tell me if I'm off base here. That's fine, but it strikes me that when we have the in-person charrette on like the 23rd of May, that would be a very good time for David to be there. If that's not.
Yeah, especially if we got Cusp in there and the NYC beta, beta folks.
This is making me realize I need to like reach out to Andrew or something and make sure I get myself an invite for PDM this summer.
Is that what you do? Okay. Can you show me how to do
I'll mention for both of you guys.
Yeah.
And I do have to tell you, my students and I are, essentially the official, supporters of the companies incubating at a Civic Hall now.
Very nice.
We're the clinic support, and we're working with Baker Hostetler as.
Yeah, I haven't been able to come down since Civic Hall opened, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, hey guys, I gotta run.
Okay, I'm gonna stop broadcasting now. By the way, I forgot to hit the red button.
But you don't think Taco Tom doesn't want to come back in, maybe?
I'm sure he does. He's chomping at the taco bit, But okay.